by the 9 and 4. Welcome to the library. In today's entry, we shall begin to go a bit more in depth into the gods by covering the domains of responsibilities they are charged or have claimed themselves in this episode of Divine Discussions, an Intro to the Realms miniseries. Even with that said, it bears repeating that this will still only be a brief look into these gods and their duties, as each one is fully deserving of their own entry and shall receive them in time. We shall start with those divine powers that we have already covered in an earlier entry, those of the V's. And where else to begin than with Her Majesty, the Empress of the Gods, Protector of the Realms, Redeemer of the Analar, Mistrin of Lycankind and Queen of Adelin, Mother of Madness, and many, many other honorifics. Genevieve Nodokir. Her Majesty has many titles, all of them well earned and proudly bore as marks of her eternal duty to the realms. Many give worship and praise to her, from most walks of life and cultures. However, her primary divine duties focus on nobility, madness, protection, change, as well as time, with her being counted amongst the top tier of time travelers, that of the Chronokame. Also a patron to the elven peoples of the realms, it is her mortal bloodline that currently sits on the throne in Avlin. Her son, the Master Skychild, who counts his domains as the celestial element of Temporsis, space, and the psionic arts, is perhaps one of the few that is spoken of in the same terms of power and influence as his mother. He is oft marked as the first modern Time Lord, a status he has far since transcended, himself being the first Chronokame amongst the mortal gods. His many trials have left him a very distant god, but he is always present, for he sits the throne of Temporsis, and thus can see any when or where. Micah, Damascus' little brother, is perhaps the most beloved of the gods. God of healing, light, and love, he is often seen as the heart of the Valors, countering his mother's passion and his brother's cold, analytical nature. While fully being capable as direct as any, his mother still takes any perceived challenge or threat to Micah poorly. Very poorly. Micah and Damascus' father, Corin Skychild, is oft left out of recountings of the V's tales or minimized in those retellings. The reasons for this are not clear to history. However, histories do make clear one thing. The roles he is charged with are not the ones he was given when he first ascended to godhood. Now a god of treason, traitors, betrayal, war, and chaos, it seems reasonable to assume that some private or perhaps godly power struggle occurred. The truth and details of this may only be divined in the future, if the gods were to allow it. While the historical record on the twin gods known as Blade and Chain is unclear before their ascension to the V's some years after the creation of the Valors, they are believed to be of royal blood of the Dragwa line, as they now sit the twin thrones of their people. Lords of combat in both melee and martial, with the tactics and strategies to effectively employ these skills, they are the epitome of the Dragwa. Serving immortal life as a random spark of excitement and gleeful adventure, the goddess of rogues, tricksters, mischief, and planar travels, Trinity is and has been the ultimate in wildcards for the Valors. As it is said, there is no object that can be kept safe from Trinity's attentions, should it pique her curiosity. Not even her fellow Valors seem immune, as tales of her appearing with their personal marks of office before the god in question appears in an attempt to retrieve it are far too common in historical records for it to not have some basis in truth. She rounds out the Valors quite nicely, happily keeping her fellows a bit more modest and humble than otherwise possible. Moving on to the Voids, we begin with Body Knock Long Tool, god of adventure, illusion, seduction, and the patron of the fiddle-touched. Badenoch is a reclusive god that nonetheless holds great weight and respect amongst his fellow V's. Husband to Her Majesty Genevieve, his duties keep him quite busy, as the fiddle-touched are often as dangerous to themselves as to the borders of knowledge they are trying to expand. Exedius Windwalker, Lord of Nature's Wrath, Dedication, Sex, and Narcissism. He is often counted amongst the heavy hitters of the V's, able to strike with all the fury of a volcano, the precision of a lightning bolt, and the force of an earthquake. His temples are well renowned for the services his priestesses and clergy provide in worship. Completely opposite of Exedius, Ashtaroth is the goddess of justice, honor, and family, the daughter of Genevieve and sister to Micah and Damastus, the middle born of the three, formerly the Platinum Knight of Halorn, one of the lords of dragonkind. She serves the realms as a pillar of what many in the realms fight for: hearth and home. Thought slain in the wars of the Spark, the god Kelix, the son of the now dead Thanix, who himself was once counted amongst the Voids, has emerged from parts unknown, apparently spared the war and what came after by being hidden in those parts unknown. A deity of bards, music, Mannery, and Analar, Kelix's return has caused ripples amongst both the gods and the upper echelons of the Analar society, as Thanix was, until very recent times, the Lord Protector and leader of the Analar from their society's inception. Only the actions of the now Lord Protector, Nikamar, brought about that change in their power structure, and only a relatively brief time before Thanix was slain in mysterious circumstances. Kelix's return threatens a potential power struggle at the top of one of the most powerful races of the realm. Adding to this potential is the fact that the last of our Voids, Dranton, god of the woodworms, loyalty, and honorable service, the once steed and ally of Thanix himself, has been seen conveying Kelix about, apparently serving son as he did father. It should be noted, however, that there has been no overt or declared enmity between Nikamar, Kelix, or Dranton, yet. The victors, as stated in a previous entry, are all but gone, and in their stead, the steward god, who has been appointed to keep the memories of those saviors of the realm alive, we find an interesting historical puzzle. Named Kalor the Bartender, or Kalor the Barkeep, he is credited as the god of commerce, travel, and gnomes. However, as any who have been to the city of Polaron knows of Kalor's Bar, which has existed in the city since its foundation, and have perhaps even met with its gnomish proprietor, this overlap is a source of much humor. It is unclear if the god is in fact at all associated with the long family line that has run this most famous of establishments. Some say he was Kalor the First, and his ascension to godhood was in fact the result of his shrewd business savvy, where others say there was only ever one Kalor, and he does indeed still run the bar he founded. Most are dubious of this claim, as pictures and other records of the owner of the bar being vastly different in different times. Them all being named as Kalor as a matter of ancestral honor does lend some credence to the theory of the god being actually Kalor the First. Most just figure the bar is named for the god and give it little consideration beyond that. As we prepare to discuss the Vanquishers, we need to take a minor sidebar here to discuss the fact that at this point the V's were beginning to find themselves at cross purposes, working to their ends of protecting the realms. Intrigue was sure to follow. The coming of the mortals that would eventually become the Vanquishers gave these still young gods the perfect vassals, cat paws, and allies for their growing plans. It should be noted that the Court of the Gods had not been established, and the games at which the gods engaged with each other resulted with the vanquishers being lavishly supported and equipped. Having the direct patronage of a V, no matter which one, will open doors that many never learn exist. With this not-so-minor set of details laid out, let us actually begin to discuss the vanquishers proper, beginning with Rinley Skychild IV, goddess of justice, assassins, and retribution, mother of the Kriston divine family. Rinley has a sharp wit and a high standard for those who follow her. Not fond of those who rush in foolishly or without planning, she is the patron saint of snipers and others who find patience and planning to be the bulk of their craft, with weeks if not months of planning culminating in a second of exacting violence, with the ripples lasting for years. Her husband and father of the Kriston divine family, Karthus Skychild, is the god of industry, nobility, and the patron of soldiers. Son of Damasus Skychild, he is best described as 3 words: a father, engineer, and soldier. Founder of the nation of Criterion, a homeland for Kriston kind, Karthus is also credited with the revival and perfection of the Analar gun dance style of combat. This form of combat cultivates mobility, speed, and a nearly omniscient degree of situational awareness, securing Karthus as one of the more capable warriors amongst the V's. The god of magic, learning, creation, and the celestial force of void, Nox Sinan serves as a prime example of one who played the V's desires for allies off of each other to his own benefit. Guiding the realms via his magical academy city of Arena, Nox furthers his continuance of the magical arts of the realms and beyond. His daughter Arena, Nodakir, who is a goddess of both magic and the void, also embodies destruction and darkness. As quiet and gentle as the night sky, little moves her. As mistress of the void, she has glimpsed the end of all things, and she is content to watch the slow, minuscule destruction of all that has ever been draw closer. Be it a year or eons away, she knows it is coming. Roth Moonflower, the god of nature's calm, the woodlands, as well as both the Fae and their elven allies, has served the realms most famously as a primary actor in the healing of the Fulgurian chaos swamps. Hibernating for millennia as a great tree at the center of said swamp, his divine and pure spirit aided in the cleaning and reclamation of that once foul place. For his action, the resultant area and the tree became known as Roth Grove, and is one of the 9 sites an ungraced Analar must travel on their path to grace. Finally, we have Justina Nodakir, daughter of Eshtara, and goddess of retribution, battle, judgment, and justice. Her divine lineage instilling in her the highest of standards, and demands that her follows must live up to as well. With the vanquishers at the end, and beginning and ending with the Nodakir, this concludes this brief look into the domains of influence that these gods cover in this latest entry of Divine Discussions, an Intro to the Realms miniseries. Until your next visit to the library, by the 9 and 4, be well, take care of yourself and each other.